So we are in week 8, and this main assignment this week is going to be the HTML assignment, which you will create a folder, zip it up, and submit it here to this HTML project. But I have the characteristics right here that we're going to be looking for, the criteria that you will be evaluating upon. So this is what I am referring to as we go through this project. So the first thing that you need to do whenever you are creating a basic HTML website is you need to have a particular folder. So everything that will go into the website should be inside of that folder. Nothing that is not on the website should be in that folder. I should not see any, Word document history papers or PSDs of images you are editing or anything like that. Just the things that are going on the website. Inside of this folder, you can see here that I have created an images folder, and I have put 3 images in because that is one of the things I'm going to be looking for. These are 3 images I took a while back. So I do want you to actually put your images inside of a folder called images. There is no magic to this. It could be called, I don't know, dog food if you wanted it to be called dog food. Not that that would make any sense, but the word itself does not have any magic. It's just that you need to have a system of organization. If you throw everything just flat out into the folder, I will dock you for not having your folders organized. It's kind of cheating, so we don't want to do that. So I want your images to go into an images folder. The other thing I want you to pay attention to here is that all of my files, I don't have images called with a capital I. None of my images here have capital letters. They don't have any spaces. I'm using underscores. So all of the file names that you use for things inside of your website need to be, I always use small letters instead of capitals because a lot of servers are case sensitive, and so if you call images with a capital letter one time and a lowercase letter the next time, your website's not going to find any of your pictures. So you have to be consistent. It's easier just to be consistently always using lowercase. So no funky characters, no asterisks, no dashes, no dashes. Notice I use underscores, not dashes. No slashes, anything like that. Numbers, letters, underscores. That's the way you should name your files, and they should be inside of a folder. So that's what I'm starting with, this folder right here. Now, in this class, we will be using Brackets, which is a free HTML editor. There is a link inside of your module on how to download it. And if you have Dreamweaver or something, you can do that too if you kind of have an idea of how to use it. I chose to demonstrate here with the use of Brackets because it is free and you can do it at home. So it'll make your life a heck of a lot easier. So inside of here, you're going to go up to this thing right here where it says, right now I have the folder open, but it says open folder, and you will direct it to that folder that you created. So there it is right there. I think you can also get into here, open folder. And now you can see that the files that I am using are right here. Now the very first HTML page that you're making, your home page, should always be called default or index.html. And that is because that's what servers know to look for the first page inside of a site. So I'm going to say new, and I am going to call this, rename was right there, wasn't it? I'm going to save as, maybe if it's going to be stubborn for me. I'm going to call it default.html. So there it is right there. And notice that I do call it .html. Well, we will also be making .css, cascading style sheet pages. But right now, any pages that you're making should have a .html ending. And notice if we go here into my folder, there it is right there. And you can also see that it has a little Firefox emblem because that's my default editor. So let's go here. I'm going to go ahead, and first thing you have to know about HTML is it is made up of HTML tags. Now there are a lot of more specific things that we can put in here. this is going to be a very basic lesson, let me say it that way, because there's a lot of things that we could put in HTML, meta tags, UTF character listing out. I mean, all kinds of different things. We're not going to do that because in WordPress, you don't really need that stuff. I'm going to focus mainly on things that you would use in WordPress with just a little bit of background data also, so that you understand HTML. But if it's not something that you would typically put in WordPress, we're not going to overly discuss it here. But I do want to talk about the formatting of a page. So HTML is made up of tags. It has opening tags and closing tags. Almost every tag opens and closes. And then the things that are in between, you can tell, like all of these tags that are in between here are going to be HTML tags. At the top, just like a body, you have a head, and then you have a body. I don't need to have all that extra space there. So inside of the head, this is where we will put things like connections to our cascading style sheets, which will control how our page looks. If we were going to have links to a JavaScript library or something, we might put that up there. If we were going to have meta tags, meta information, we could put that up there. All kinds of things go into the head, but they're not the things that appear on the page. So what's more important to you is the stuff that is going to show up in the body. Now, we don't have to worry about head and body tags in HTML, or excuse me, in WordPress. But since we are making this as a pure HTML project, I am showing it to you for now, just so that you understand that HTML generally has that in there. But in the end, when we move it to WordPress, you're not going to need it. So when I talk about over here, let me drag this thing over. When I talk about here proper file structure and proper page structure, what I am referring to is having your HTML tags wrapping around, your head tags here, your body tags, and then using the tags properly. We'll get into that. And that is what I am referring to when I say your proper file structure, your proper page structure. Okay, so I have this right here. That's really basic. Now we're going to only really work inside of the body tag. Okay, so I gave you a list of tags, H1, H2, H3, anchor tags, paragraph tags, which is a P tag, HR, horizontal rule, that is, BR, which is break, UL and LI, which are lists. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So the H1 through H6 tags inside of HTML are heading tags. So anything that you put inside of this will act as a header for a page. I'm going to do the traditional hello world. So that is going to be larger. H1 is the largest. H2 is smaller. I go ahead and I take a look at this, I save it, and I can say live preview. It's going to pop open Chrome for me. Here's my website, what it looks like. So that's what I have going on in there. You can see H1 this is H1, it's big. And they're using the default text, whatever I have according to my browser that my default text editor will be. So if I go down here, my other thing I ask you to use, here's H3, is going to be a little bit smaller. Okay, that's my H3. It will be smaller than that. I ask you to use a paragraph tag. That's the P tag. Things that go in here are generally just a bunch of your paragraphs. And between your paragraphs, you will have a line break. So they are always split up. So I could have a bunch of stuff in here. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Let me go back to my live preview, and you can see here my live preview is actually putting these things on the screen as I go. I can't fit everything in here right now. Actually, I probably can. Let me see if I can squish this up and put them both on the same so you can see what's happening. Nope, it's not going to work for me. I have it on my second monitor. So I'll just pull it over when I can. Okay, the other thing that I've asked you to use, I have the H1, H2, H3, the paragraph, a horizontal rule I can put in here. That's an HR tag. An HR tag, since it doesn't have anything inside of it, or it doesn't have anything inside of it, it's just one rule. It doesn't have an opening and closing tag. So I can go like that. And actually just to indicate that it's closing by itself. So if I go and take a look at my page, here's my horizontal rule. It goes the whole way across the area that I'm putting. Okay, now let's put in some images here. Because I asked you to put in 3 optimized images. So images are going to be IMG. And then this is really handy. It's putting up all of these things that I can add to this. What I want to do is identify what the image is. So I'm going to say image source equals. And then it's saying, do you want to go inside of this folder? Yes, I do. And let's put dogs in here. And then I don't have to actually put anything on dog. I can just close it like that, indicating that I don't have an opening and closing tag. So let's take a look and see what happened here. My dog shows up. I asked for 3 images. You can see that I don't need the slash in here, so I'm not going to put the slash in. At this point, it doesn't really matter if the slash is there or not for that particular tag. That's kind of an HTML5 thing. And right now, I think we're really dealing with 4, but I babble. So ship and fog is my last one that I didn't put. Okay. So here I have all of my 3 images appeared, but what happens if I want them to be on separate lines, or I want ship to be on a line below these 2? So I'm going to use the HR tag, or excuse me, BR, which is break or line break. So what I would do is right after this image, if I wanted to put a line break between these 2, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say BR. And that dropped the picture down to another line. Okay, so what if I want to, the other thing that I have here is an A tag. And what an A tag is to make a link. So what if I want to be able to click this particular image and have it go to another page, so, or another location on the internet, for instance. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap this in A tags. I have to have it wrapped all the way around my image to indicate that my image is going to be the clickable thing. You can see really that it gave me the option to type, gave me the opening and closing for the A, and then I could have moved my cursor in and then put the image inside of it, which is really the better format to do, kind of think ahead. But here, I did wrap this image in an A tag, and I want to keep these things together. So how do I make this go somewhere when I click it? I give it an href, which is a hyperreference, which long ago, before y'all were born, links were all called hyperlinks. So this is a hyperreference. It's kind of a hangover there. So href. So I could link it to a page inside of my folder. I could have a folder that was like an About Me folder, my family page, my pets page. And you can see in here, I could link it to a different page if I had multiple pages inside of my folder. But instead, what I want to do is I want to link this to Google. And you will notice that if I do this to an external source, I have to put the whole web address. I can't just say google.com or just Google. I have to put in the whole HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol is what that stands for, / the whole shebang. I got to put that in there. So once I have that in there, I can go over here, and that is on my ships picture, right? So let me save just to make sure that it kicks in for me. If I click on my ships, I went to Google. So I said I asked you for H1, H2, H3, A, P, HR, BR. Okay, now UL and LI. You can make multiple kinds of lists. Well, you can make an unordered list or an ordered list, an OL or a UL. I asked you here to make a UL, but you can make an OL, doesn't really matter. Just make a list of some kind. So I'm going to say UL here. And then inside of my list, I've declared that I have a list. I have to put list items. So I can say dogs, cats, birds. Okay, notice here, see how this doesn't line up? Inside of HTML documents, white space does not matter. So this is a very human readable format, and generally what you're going to do is you indent levels from each other. So UL has the children items, LI, list items. So these are children of this, so they're actually indented a level over. All of this that I have in here are children of the body, so it's all indented over from there. So basically, as you would go down a level of embedded inside of another item, everything gets embedded more and more. And that is the standard so that humans can look at it, coders can look at it, and they can understand it. But there is really no magic happening there. I could take out all of the white space here and the page would work just fine. Okay, so I'm going to say here, let's do an H3. Let's say pets. So now if I save this, actually I think it's live previewing the whole time that I'm doing it, but let's go ahead and open up a live preview since I went to Google. So here's my page. There's my pets. Let me see if I can drag this down so you can actually see it. There you go. So there's an unordered list. Now once we get into styling, you can change what these dots are and all of that. You can really control a lot more things. Right now we're not worried about the visual aspects of it because I don't want you to actually get into style. Changing the colors of things and stuff in here because I don't want you to get into the habit of sticking style into your HTML. It's a really bad thing, bad habit. So here you look at the proper file structure. That is putting images inside of an images folder, or if you have multiple pages, you can put things inside of there, whatever, what have you. Okay, all your files named properly. So I had my first page, I call it default. I don't have any spaces or funky characters in my file names. That's good. I put in my 3 optimized images. My proper page structure, I have my HTML tags that open and close. I have my head tags. I have my body tags. That's my page structure. I used all the tags that were requested. We have to do text formatting. And I put in an external link. I'm going to remove this internal link because we're only going to make one page for this particular project. But what do I mean by text formatting? If you go to W3 Schools, which I have a link in the module, this is a good place to learn all of your HTML code. These are the people that actually invent things. They don't invent it. They are the people that are the standard bearer. They make the rules about how HTML is done. It's the W3 World Wide Web Consortium, W3 Consortium. So anyway, what am I talking about in here? I'm talking about if you go to this for your text formatting that I requested. So you're going to go to your W3 Schools and you can take a look at this formatting here. And what I am referring to are these different types of things. You can use these to format your text. But in particular, what I am looking for is like quotations here. Here you can use block quotes. If you're going to block quote, it will indent things for you. And you can put your citation of your link. Putting in abbreviations, addresses. Now, the reason why you would want to do this is because if somebody is using a screen reader, they can actually tell that that's an address. It'll pop up that it'll read that it's an address for them. Additionally, if people are, using different things to pull information from your site, it will be easier for them to locate the information that they're talking about. So I'm looking for things from formatting and things from quotations. Those are the 2 areas where I would like you to take a look at those 2 pages and use some of the information from there. And I do want you to get used to referring to HTML or to the W3 Schools and other documentation, because generally I don't keep a lot of this stuff. These basic things that I use all the time are in my head, but I do use references all the time because you can't hold everything in your head. Plus, the standards change from time to time, so you always want to get used to looking at reference materials as you go. Okay, so let's say I wanted to make this paragraph. Instead of making it a paragraph, I want to make it a block quote. Actually, no, let's leave this one a paragraph. And I'm going to copy it. Let's pretend there's more information in here. And this one I'm going to change to a block quote so you can see how it changes. So I change this first one, I have to change the close. So you can see that the block quote is automatically indented. So go ahead and take a look at those things and try to use at least a couple of those to change your font. And that is really the core of this WordPress. This HTML assignment. This is the very bare bones minimum of meeting the requirements. I would like you to actually make a page about yourself or about something that's of interest to you. Get in there and start playing with the HTML. If you want to go beyond the minimum, which I encourage you to do, start taking a look at these different things and see if you can see stuff that is of interest to you. Flip through. These are really good skills to have, but you're lucky since we're using WordPress. You're not required to really master a whole bunch of it, but if you are going to go further into the field, you really do have to have a pretty good grasp of HTML. So, and we will be inserting it into our WordPress. So even though we're not making web pages from scratch, you do need to know, or at least understand, your HTML.